Why do you always feel hungry when you're trying to lose fat? So you've started your diet, you're doing everything right, you're in that calorie deficit, but you're starving, you're trying to grind it through the afternoons, you're thinking about food all the time, and you're wondering how anyone ever sustains it for long enough to actually see results. And I get it because I hear it from so many people, but before we go any further, just realize that a level of hunger is normal when you're trying to lose weight, but there is a massive difference between manageable hunger and the type of hunger that makes you want to quit every single week. That's exactly what I'm going to go into and how you can make your dieting so much easier. But before we get onto any practical strategies, we need to start with your mindset. So first thing, if you're in a calorie deficit and you never feel hungry, you're probably not in a deficit. Hunger is essentially your body's signal that you need more energy. And if you're asking your body to use stored fat for energy rather than food, then obviously your body is going to be asking for more food. Evolutionarily, your body doesn't want to lose weight, it wants you to store more fat for survival. So don't interpret hunger as a bad thing, but also don't think that you absolutely need to feel hungry and starved to make any progress. The goal isn't to eliminate hunger, but to keep it at a level where you're functional, you're focused, and you're not constantly thinking about your next meal and wanting to go to the kitchen and raiding the fridge. So before we talk about any strategies, we need to talk about why you're doing this. Before you start any fitness journey or whatever you're trying to work towards, the thing that underpins all of it, and I've spoken about this in other videos before, you need to know your why behind why you're doing it. That is going to be the thing that drives every decision you make. It's what's going to keep you on track on the days when you're tired, when you're unmotivated, when you think things aren't clicking. You need to have that deeper reason to underpin literally everything else that you do. Now, your initial response to your why on your fitness journey, it might be you want to lose weight, you want to drop fat, you want to look more toned. But then you need to go into the deeper reason behind why you want that. So yes, you want to drop fat. Why is that goal important to you? It might be because of the confidence. It might be you want to fit into those clothes that you used to wear, that you want to go out to parties and wear that sleeveless dress so you can show off your arms. Little things that might seem silly, but those goals are important, and you can keep digging down into that why again and again and again until you get to that deep reason, that core thing that is driving you. And for a lot of people, that why will go back to all those insecurities that you've held since you were young or since past experiences. Because I know, like, for me, probably a big thing that drives everything that I do is going back to school when I'm shy, I'm insecure, I'm skinny, and just wanting that like validation that I felt like I never had growing up. So dive into your deeper reason for why you want to get to where you want to be in terms of your fitness. And when you know that, that is going to be the thing that underlies everything in terms of your fitness. So be clear on that goal, write it down, have it in front of you every single day, and that's going to help to keep you focused. So once you have that, we can now get into the practical strategies to feel less hungry. First thing, the single most important thing you can do to feel less hungry is prioritize protein. It is the most satiating macronutrient, and 90% of people don't get enough protein. When you're not making the conscious effort to get more of it in, no one is eating anywhere near enough. And it's not just keeping you fuller, it's also helping you preserve and build that lean muscle. You want that toned look. Protein is going to help get you there. But most importantly, if you're in that calorie deficit, you're trying to lose fat, it's going to help you preserve the muscle, because if you're in that deficit, you're not getting your protein in, you're more likely to be losing the lean mass rather than the fat that you want to lose. And to keep it simple, how much protein you want, at a minimum 1.6 grams per kilo of body weight. So if you're, say, 70 kilos, you're looking for just over 100 grams of protein a day, ideally looking to get up to 1 gram per pound if you can. But just at first, don't overthink it. 1.6 grams per kilo is what you want as a minimum. How that looks practically is just making sure that each meal has a decent protein source within it. So if it's your breakfast, yogurt, protein powder, eggs, add a bit of egg whites. Lunch and dinner, chicken, fish, tofu, beans, whatever your go-to protein source is, make sure you get them in each meal, and then top up with a protein snack, a protein shake, anything else throughout the day to get that protein up. Next thing to feel less hungry is focus on volume. So A big thing for a lot of people when they start calorie tracking, when they've never done it before, is they don't realize the calorie content within certain foods that they're eating. What you are looking to minimize, not cut out. You're not looking to cut out anything when you're trying to cut fat, when you're trying to drop fat, but it's about being more intentional about your food choices. Certain things will fill you up more for the amount of calories within them. So obviously the fattier foods, which are of more calories per gram, are gonna, and again, I'm not saying don't cut out fats entirely, but the fats are the things where it's easy to fill up, or it's easy to get a lot of calories and you don't feel like you've eaten that much. So fill up on volume, mainly in terms of vegetables, whatever your go-to is. Obviously they're packed full of vitamins and minerals as well. They're gonna keep you full, and then pair that alongside your protein and make that the base of each meal. Essentially, those are the things that you can't eat because you get so full, you can never be pushed over your calories by eating too much broccoli or too much carrots. So always focus your meals around the protein and the veg, and then the rest, however many calories you're aiming for, the rest you can fill up with carbs. I'm never one to say don't eat carbs because you want carbs. I know that for me, if I cut out carbs, I'm jittery. I don't like it, and a lot of women don't like cutting out carbs, so you don't need to worry about skipping carbs. It's just, again, about being intentional, weighing out your portion sizes, and you can make it work. Now let's talk about when you eat. Now this is different for everyone. Some people, and it's worth experimenting, some people like doing fasting in terms of doing 8 hours eating, 16 hours off. Some people, like, in that way, prefer to skip breakfast and have their meals later in the day. You need to find what works with you in terms of if you prefer banking your calories to later in the day, or if you prefer having more calories earlier in the day and you're not so fussed about a big meal in the evening. So it's worth experimenting different times of day. Focus more of the calories at the time of day when you're hungriest, if that is the evening. But it's also worth experimenting in terms of how many meals that you have. Now obviously most people generally go for like 3 meals a day, and that can work. If that works for you, then that's great. But obviously you have big windows between each time that you're eating, which isn't always ideal. And funnily enough, since I've been with my own coach, he's set it so I have 5 different meals. Well, not like actual meals, but 5 different times to eat throughout the day. 2 or 3 like main meals, and then like extra meals added in for the protein. But I found that has helped me personally massively in terms of, like, you're not waiting as long for the next meal, so you're not thinking about snacking. When you have like a 6-hour gap between your lunch and your dinner, it's so easy to want to go and snack and just graze on the crisps or whatever's in the cupboard, and it's those calories that add up and that might be pushing you out of that deficit. So it definitely helps to reduce your hunger by way of just less time until that next meal. And then it's also helping in terms of the protein synthesis. Obviously the main thing in terms of protein, just make sure your total protein across the day is hitting your target. But then beyond that, there might be, and again, the studies are kind of like mixed. It was initially thought that it's better to space protein out throughout the day in like 2 to 3 hour intervals throughout the day, in terms of like, there's only so much protein the body can uptake at a certain time. More recent studies are saying that it doesn't matter and it's just total protein that matters. But generally it's good if you can just space your protein out throughout the day into different windows. And in general, I would say for anyone looking to lose fat, it's better to space your meals out more anyway if you can, because like I've said, you have less time until your next meal. You're thinking about food less. Also, one final thing, again, what's helped with me is knowing that I have in the plan the after dinner snack, which is like something sweet. It's something to look forward to. If you can have something like that in your plan to look forward to at the end of the day, when you know that yes, you might be a little bit hungry during the day, but you have something to look forward to at the end of the day, that can really help as well. Next strategy, you need to choose what works for you. Now, there is a lot of individual differences in terms of what foods keep some people full versus what other people are kept full by. For example, in your breakfast, a lot of people will swear by having oats for breakfast. Now, I like oats in the morning. I find that it keeps me full for like at least a good few hours, but some people will have the oats and they'll find like an hour later they're hungry again. So some people might benefit more from a higher fat breakfast like bacon and eggs or avocado or anything like that. Again, it's something that's worth experimenting with. Find what works best for you and what keeps you full. But as a general rule, obviously anything that's more processed is less likely to keep you full. Just keep it as natural as possible for most of your meals. Again, it's that 80-20 rule where at least 80 to 90% of your foods are coming from those whole natural sources. They're more likely to keep you fuller. But again, it's worth experimenting. A final few simple things to help you. Now, a big one is hydration. A lot of the time when you think you're hungry, you're not hungry, you're just dehydrated. Most people are dehydrated and don't drink enough water. And when you don't drink enough, your brain will tell you that you're hungry, but you're really just thirsty. So it's worth, when you get those hunger signals, drink a big glass of water, take a minute, and you'll probably realize that you're not actually hungry. Next thing, when you have your meals, eat more slower, because it takes your brain something like 20 minutes to register that you're full. And when you're just like scoffing your food down within like 2 minutes and then you still feel hungry, your brain hasn't had time to catch up with the meal that you just ate. So just try and slow down that bit more. Next habit, and it's a pretty obvious one, don't keep the trigger foods within your house. If there's any specific foods that you know that if they're in sight or they're close to you, that you're gonna go for them the second that you get hungry, just keep them out of sight. Obviously the best thing, don't buy them, but ideally just keep them out of sight, keep them out of reach, so you can't just go for them when you want them, when you get that trigger. And final point, again, another fairly obvious one, but get more sleep. You'll probably know when you're tired, you've not had enough sleep, you're gonna be hungrier. Your hunger hormone, which is called ghrelin, goes up, and the hormone that signals that you're full, called leptin, comes down. So you're more likely to eat more. Your brain can't pick up when you're actually full, and it's just, again, something else that makes it harder to stick to that deficit. I know for a lot of people, you have things that get in the way of getting that full sleep. You might have kids to deal with, you might have pets to deal with, or you might be working shifts or whatever the thing is. But again, with sleep, it's just one of those things. You have to do what you can within your specific circumstances to try and control it. So to round this video off, if you're in a calorie deficit, you are going to feel hungry at some point. That's normal. The problem is when that hunger becomes so overwhelming that you just feel like you can't stick to your plan. So here's what you're gonna do. You're gonna start with the mindset, get clear on your why you want it, and dig deep into that why. Accept that hunger is part of the process, it's normal. And then in terms of tactically what to do, prioritize protein at every meal. Fill up on volume, fill half your plate with veg alongside that protein. Number 3, experiment with meal timing, which works with your hunger patterns, and experiment with different sizes of meals at different times of day, depending on when you're most hungry. Number 4, find what foods actually keep you full. If that's higher carb for you, then that's fine. If it's higher fat, then that's also fine. But the most importantly, just make sure you keep that protein up. And number 5, drink more water. Make sure you're getting enough sleep, or do what you can to improve your sleep, and then eat your meals that little bit slower, because fat loss shouldn't feel like suffering. It's just about making small strategic choices that make the whole process easier. Anyway, I hope this was helpful. If you enjoyed it, drop a like, leave a comment to let me know if you're currently dieting and firstly how your hunger is, but then if there's anything of this that you're currently doing or anything that you're going to go and implement. And final thing, as always, if you are a woman on a fat loss journey, you're looking for that little bit of help, that little bit of guidance to help get you through the deficit and give you a clearer plan on what you should be doing, then you can go down into the first link in the description. I'll leave a form to work with me. Just fill that out and we can have a quick chat about how a plan could look for you. And if you want more practical, no BS advice on fat loss, go hit subscribe. I'm getting more consistent with these videos now. I'm looking to do every single week. Anyway, go and eat some protein, and I'll see you in the next one.